Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm super excited to be taking a closer look at the Mego crossover with Hasbro Ghostbusters action figures. This is something of a complete surprise. This is a very strange melding of two worlds. Hasbro and Mego coming together to give us a one-off collection of Ghostbuster figures. This is highly unusual, very unexpected, but very gratefully received. And who knows, maybe this is the beginning of something special and we'll see other things like this in the future. We can only hope. But for now, this is an exclusive to the US. It actually wasn't available over here through Hasbro Pulse in the UK, but nevertheless, I've been lucky enough to get my hands on one and I thought we could take a look at this together today. So without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging. Now, this packaging is actually in a trapezoid shape, so it's kind of flat at the top and then it has curves at the side. At the front and centre, we can see this fantastic Ghostbusters logo, which I think we're all very familiar with. This looks really nice and very presentable. If we flip the packaging onto the reverse, we can actually see a number of different shots here, and I think this looks great. We have a mix of shots from the film, actual film stills, and then we have some shots of the action figures in various poses, which look absolutely fantastic. I think this is really nice and attractive. But this is merely the slip case, because if we lift this outer layer off, we can see the harder case underneath, and of course we have this rather empty window display. There is actually no plastic here, but we can actually see the four Ghostbusters figures in this cutout, but we also see film stills of each of the characters dotted around the outer packaging there. And of course we can also see the big Mego logo on the left hand side, and we see the much smaller Hasbro logo on the left hand side. Now you will notice that behind these figures is an interior card inlay which actually doubles as a diorama. If we take a closer look at that, we can see this rather wonderful illustrated image here that is of course taken from the very end of the film where the gateway's opening up and we can see Gozer and the Terror Dogs. This looks absolutely phenomenal. They've done a really nice job of this, and of course, as I said, it doubles as a diorama, so we can put our figures in front of that to have a very nice scene, which we'll look at towards the end of the video. But this is really nice packaging. If we flip it onto the reverse, we can see some more shots from the film, and again another shot of the Megos in action there, and the usual Mego description that we see at the bottom of the packaging. So this looks really nice. However you slice it, this is going to look fantastic on display. Now for this video, because each figure is largely the same with very subtle differences between each one, I thought I'd break from tradition and cover all of these figures at once, because I don't want to be repetitive and cover the same things multiple times. So instead, we'll look at these figures as a group. Now, the first thing that struck me upon opening these figures up is just how nicely tailored these figures are. The costumes are really, really nice and tight. They're very nice, thick materials. They feel like real quality. And one of the key things to mention is that they do benefit from the new Mego bodies. In fact, I'm not sure which came first, whether these new Mego bodies were actually influenced by the relationship with Hasbro. That could be the case, but I might be wrong on that. But they do have the new improved bodies. Now, I know that not everyone will be delighted to hear that. Purists or long-term collectors who have affection for the traditional moulds and body types may be a little bit disappointed. For me personally, I actually really like the new sculpting and the new body molds they use with the improved articulation. So for me, this is a real treat. So let's spend a little bit of time looking at these head sculpts. Now I think the first thing that's striking about these sculpts is that, yeah, they're a little bit shiny. They definitely catch the light. Obviously these are a very hard, shiny plastic, which might be a little bit distracting. Now me personally, I actually don't mind this sort of lacquer that they've got on them. This is absolutely fine. I think the sculpts themselves are really nicely done. For the most part, I think they've captured the likenesses pretty well, actually, for this scale and for Mego. I think this is a cut above the usual standard we see from Mego figures. So I think this is pretty good. The paint apps are nicely applied for the most part. They're pretty simple colours, really not an awful lot of texture or depth, but again, we don't really expect that from Mego. So I think what we've got here is actually definitely a cut above what you'd normally get from a Mego figure. Perhaps that is Hasbro's influence, but this is pretty solid stuff. I actually think this is like super Mego. Now, as I mentioned before, I really like the costuming on these figures. The materials they've used for the costumes is nice, thick and sturdy. It's got a real nice texture to it, but they also have these wonderful working zips as well, which we zip down, we can see they've got a nice thin vest underneath. Now, there's a lot of detail here, and we're getting a lot of texture, which is absolutely fantastic. I also really like that we have the individual name tags stickered on at the top of the costume as well. It's very, very cool. If we look at the side of the arm, we can see the Ghostbusters symbol, the transfer stuck on there, which looks perfect, and we have those nice bands around the elbows as well, which look really good. Likewise, if we look at the belt, of course this is one rubber piece, but it's actually quite nicely sculpted and very nicely painted, so it actually looks pretty authentic. And they also have these rubber boots as well. Now these are pretty sturdy, they have no problem standing on these, which is really good and nice to see. Sometimes with Mego figures the boots can stop them from actually standing properly the way they're moulded, but these work very nice, and I think these might be an original sculpt for these figures. I don't recall seeing these boots on a Mego figure before. Now, all the figures come with the same boots. You'll notice with the Venkman, his trousers actually go over the boots, which I think is authentic to what we see on screen. So really nice that they capture that little detail here. I also want to demo the articulation, so I'm going to use Venkman as my demonstration model. They do have a straight swivel at the necks, of course. They can rotate the head all the way around. They do benefit from proper ball joints in the shoulders, so they can lift their arms up and out and keep them held there for as long as you want. There is a pin swivel at the elbow, so that lower forearm can rotate all the way around, and of course it will hinge to 90 degrees. And then at the wrist itself, we have another pin swivel there, so that hand can rotate all the way around and of course hinge forwards and backwards. Now there is a ball joint in the waist as well, so the figure can move from side to side, lean left and right, and bend forwards and backwards. There's more ball joints in the hips, of course the legs do kick out to the side, they'll also kick forwards and backwards, and then there is another pin swivel at the lower leg, so that lower leg will move from side to side, and it will also hinge to about 90 degrees. Now, one of the things that's truly exceptional with these Mego figures is the accessories. They come with a proton pack each, their own personal ghost trap, and then there's some unique pieces including Egon's EPK meter and Ray's goggles. Needless to say, this is fairly unprecedented for a Mego release to have so many accessories, but what really takes them over the edge is the fact that they're so nicely rendered and wonderfully painted. These are really high quality accessories. Let's take a look at the proton pack. You can see all the individual bits and pieces here, the wires, the various doodads, the wonderful paints that we see, the blues and the reds, all coming together really nice to give this a real proper texture, which looks fantastic. You'll also notice that the rifle actually has a clip in it, so you can actually attach it to the proton pack. I think this is a fantastic touch, and it works really, really well. Now, each pack has a side clip, so you unclip that, and that's how you saddle this on to each figure, and you can secure it in place with that clip. And when you do kit these guys out, wow, they look phenomenal, and you actually forget that you're looking at Mego figures for a moment. I think these accessories are absolutely wonderful. They all fit very, very snugly. The backpacks fit very nicely and tightly onto each figure. It looks nice and secure, and it looks perfectly in proportion as well, which is fantastic. As you can see, they have no problems whatsoever holding their accessories, whether it's a plasma rifle, which looks really good. They can hold that in both hands, or it might be their trap. Ray's goggles fit perfectly over his head, so you can actually look out of them, which is fantastic, or you can have them resting on the top of his head. And then of course we have Egon's EPK meter, and as you can see there, he has no problems holding this. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall out of his grip. It's nice and secure, and this looks absolutely fantastic. What a great looking bunch of figures. And as I said, it's kind of hard to believe that I'm looking at Megos here. They look absolutely phenomenal. And then finally, not forgetting, we also have that wonderful diorama piece as well. We can put them in front of that, and these just look great on display. This is nice and colourful. The figures look fantastic, and I could not be happier with these. I actually think Mego and Hasbro have teamed up to create a pretty dream product, really. If you're a Ghostbusters fan and you like Megos, or you just like action figures, these are going to be very welcome additions to your collection. They are going to be highly sought after. Very, very nicely done. I love the attention attention to detail. I love all the extra accessories they're giving them. I personally really appreciate them having the enhanced articulation as well, and I think they just look tremendous. I really like the head sculpts. Yeah, they're a little bit shiny, but that does not bother me, to be honest. All in all, I think these are wonderful additions to have in my collection. I really like having these figures, and I think they are pretty fantastic. They probably are my favourite Mego figures ever produced, and that's saying something because I've got quite a collection now. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe as there'll be plenty more videos soon.